That's it. If that doesn't get your blood pumping, I don't know what will.
Good old days.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right. So to the stage today, we have the boss, the
Uh,
three-time boss, Greg Wooldridge. Greg, welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Chief. Waffles.
That's it.
Charlie. We'll get you.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
glad to
Yes,
be
sir.
here. Really glad to be here.
So, I mean, you've done everything from being a speaker to even have a political career at one point in time, correct?
I did. Yeah. About 2005, I moved out to Oregon. Loved
Yeah.
the state. Beautiful state. Didn't agree with some of the politics. So I had a couple of guys, it's like when I got selected to the Blues, I thought I'll never get selected. And a bunch of sitting around in the ready room on the Midway, which was a fighting ship at one time and not a museum.
Right.
Sitting in the ready room, my junior officer said, "Skipper, come on, you got to apply." I said, they'll never pick me. And they said, "Yeah, you got to apply. You'd be good at it. And plus, you get us front row seats for the air shows." I said, "Okay." But the same thing kind of happened with my political ambitions. I was sitting around, and a couple of my buddies called me. That one was a state senator, and the other was a state rep here in Oregon. They said, "We need you to do something for us," and they kind of made it. I knew right away it was a joke. They said, "We want you to run a pot farm for us," because it had just been legalized, right? I said,
Right.
sure, guys, yeah, right. They said, "No, they said, we've got something better in mind." They said, "You've got the leadership tools. You've got a little bit of recognition, through the team, if nothing else. We'd like you to run for governor."
Oh, wow.
I said, that'll never happen, but you never know till you try. I mean, in life's lessons, it's like making this movie we just made. You never know until you set your heart to it. So I ran for governor, didn't win the primary, lost in the primary. So I got up fairly early, but I sure enjoyed going around Oregon and meeting with people and seeing the fine fabric of people that
Yeah.
put the state together that just need a little different view on things, a little bit more representation. So it was great.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, but yeah, I was a little bit into the politics.
I mean, that sounds pretty amazing. So to me, it kind of seems like your life it has been wrapped around service, service to people,
Yeah,
service to country.
yeah.
How did you get your start in service?
I think it actually it's a good question, Waffles. Good question. I think it starts with my humble beginnings, right? You feel like you're kind of behind the power curve already.
Yeah.
You're not you're at the golf course, but you're not playing. You're caddying, right?
Right.
So, humble beginnings, I think, set you off on a course that says, "Boy, I'm going to have to try a little bit harder to get where
Yeah.
I need to go in life." And I think part of trying harder, part of the way your personality develops, is to know that if you can serve others, that you will help them do better, and then maybe that will work in your favor to help you get along, and make your team, make your group of people around you get along better and do better. So I guess that's kind of the real start of learning how to be a servant, and then a servant leader, right? And the word
Right.
is misused on occasion, but that's what I look to do, and help people develop around me, and whether it's in college as a college student, on a track team, whatever it is, you want others to succeed, because their success, they talk about rising tides raise all ships, right? So if
Yeah.
everybody around you is doing better, you're going to do better. And that's kind of the way we looked at it on the Blue Angels too.
Yeah.
You know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you were there.
100%.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So you end up getting into aviation, which ends up bringing you down that road to become a Blue Angel pilot eventually. What made you interested in getting into aviation in the first place? You could have done a lot of different things, but aviation was, I mean, you were really good at it.
Well, I was blessed to have the opportunity, and then blessed to have great support around me, and also second chances.
Yeah.
I had a lot of second chances. So in college, the story I love to tell is getting into college on academic probation, right? Great
Right.
way to start. I had lousy grades in high school. Mom said, "You're going." I said, "Mom, lousy grades and we don't have money, we'll find a place for you to go. The college had a work-study program.
Yeah.
So you did a job on campus, and it was a small school, but it's another place to learn about service and about the ethic of work.
Yeah.
Just so good to see stuff get done.
Oh yeah.
So I go in on an academic probation, and the first semester still on academic probation. Dean calls me and says, "Hey, I was going to send you home, but somebody came in, and one of the professors said, 'Hey, give the guy a chance. He's just a knucklehead, right? He's not trying very hard.'" So I got a second chance, a big second chance, and I stuck it out, got through college. Chief, I started a family. One of the, I would never say if I had it to do over, because my son is terrific.
Yeah.
I love him, do anything, and he turned out to be a great, great man. But started a family in college, come on.
Yeah.
Give yourself a chance to get a little more mature, which I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I had that challenge. And so what that meant was it kind of feeds into the story of when I graduated in the bottom half of the class. I was down here, but I graduated, and it was in the days when they still had a draft. And once your college was done, you're going, buddy.
Yeah.
And I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to learn about? I've got a commission. I'm going to get a commission. I've got a college degree. What can I learn that I can use to help support my family?
There you go.
But I'm going to learn how to fly. If they'll teach me, I'll learn how to fly. I'll spend my 4 years at that point. In those days, 4 years. Now I think it's like 7, but I'll spend my 4 years and get out and get a job with the airlines.
Yeah.
So when they interviewed me to fly, to teach me to fly, am I talking too much?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay. All right. I don't want to flood the airways here too much. So when these 4 Marine, it was in Olathe, Kansas, when they had a reserve base there or something, flew me over there. First time I've ever flown in an airplane, a turboprop airliner. Got over there, and these 4 Marines had just come in from flying Phantoms on their weekend drill,
Yeah.
And so they were quizzing the applicants, and they said, well, they got me at the end of the table and the long table, and they said, well, what do you want to fly? And I said, I want to fly the biggest thing you got. I want the thing with the most engines. And they said, what? These are fighter pilots, right? They said, what? I said, yeah, I want to, when I get out, I'm going to fly for the airlines. So I want to, and
Yeah.
they didn't laugh, but they shook their heads, and then kind of got to a nod and said, okay, we'll take it. Then I got to Pensacola for Aviation Officer Candidate School in those days, AOCS.
Yep.
Marching down the grinder, trying, not moving my head, but looking up at these blue F4s flying overhead, back in the day.
F4s.
I think maybe I want to try something a little different. So that's how the aviation bug really got in me, and it was almost a force of necessity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think honestly, with some of us that are in aviation, even the enlisted side, it comes out of sometimes necessity. I know myself, I ended up in aviation because they had a bonus. And I said, hey, I'll take it. Give me the bonus. The next thing you know, I end up with a long career in aviation. It turned out to be good for me. So
yes, that you say, well, wow,
yeah,
that motivation paid off for the Navy because they got a really terrific guy in you, and paid off for you in the long run because you
absolutely
value of work and performance and made it to chief.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah.
So you end up applying for the Blues. Now, for people that don't know what this process is like, becoming a Blue Angel enlisted or officer teammate it's a very unique thing. And there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into this that we don't necessarily talk about. But for you rushing in to become a Blue Angel, how many times did it take you to try to make that team? Was it just the one time when you first made it?
Just the one time, but coming in as the lead, you really only have one career opportunity. It's got to be toward the end of your operational tour as a squadron commander.
Yeah.
Where you're going to break into another field, and it's a little complicated at the boss level, right? At the lead level.
Yeah.
So let me, if I might, back up just a second. You talked about everybody in that squadron was handpicked.
Yes.
And that was cool, because what the Blues do. They're at the cutting edge of giving impressions about our military.
Right.
Navy and Marine Corps especially, of course, but about our military in general. And we want people that do that. We wanted people. I still talk like I'm there, but it's just part of my soul.
Absolutely.
And you too, I'm sure, that you want the people that are there to create this impression. And also, you pick the people you want, because now you got to come together and you got to build a trust factor. And because what you do is so critical and so, space demanding, if you will, flying close together and putting things together and working on the planes and make sure they're ready to go, because you don't want anything to go wrong in flight and all that kind of stuff. So you get to pick your own people.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. But I'm sorry I digress, but I think it's cool to note that this is one of those military organizations where somebody in Washington doesn't say, you're going to this group, you're going to this squadron. It's much more appropriate. It doesn't mean you're taking the person with the highest scores.
Right.
You're getting somebody that's got a heart, right? And somebody you're going to be able to develop a trust relationship. All right, so back to me. Sorry. Back to the selection, my selection. So I'm sitting in the ready room, like I said, and the young guys, the lieutenants say, you got to apply. I said, no, I'll never get picked. And so I applied, got one endorsement from my CAG. And I found out that most guys have a little, a packet of endorsements, but I just figured I'll give it a try. Right. And so I was off the coast of Japan somewhere. We were flying, and they said, hey, you got back in the days, they called it not an email, but what do we call it? Navy mail and Navy message. We got a message on the message board that, hey, we're looking for a leader. They already got that, but now they're saying we've got 6 finalists to lead the team, and we want you to come back to Corpus Christi and interview.
Oh man.
And I thought, oh man, this will be great. How about that? I can't even believe it. I said, hey, CAG, they select me as a finalist. I said, hey, that's great. Get back there and give it your best. And so I went back and I looked at some of these guys. One was the CO of Top Gun.
Oh wow.
Another one was a guy that had been doing East Coast F-14 demos, long flowing blonde hair.
Yeah.
What was his name? Great guy. All great guys. And so I really relaxed because I knew I wasn't going to get selected. So I would just relax. I said, I'm not putting any fronts up. This is going to be me.
Yeah.
And I interviewed for an hour, and they came out and said, you're the guy, because of what they said they saw in me was my love for caring for the people that work for me and with me, right? And how that I would always be attuned to that most important aspect of having the privilege of leading an organization.
Yeah.
So,
and for me, that was one of the most unique perspectives about selecting people there. Not only are the superiors selecting the juniors, but the juniors are also selecting the superiors.
yes.
For example, with the chief petty officers that are selected to go to that team, they go to each individual on that team and they talk to them and they get to know them. And then at the end of that, those other chief petty officers that made the team actually go back to those junior enlisted personnel and they ask them, "What's your opinion of this guy or this lady? What kind of an impression did they give you? Do you think that they care enough to be on this team?" Just general conversations like that. And every little thing you say and do while you're there interviewing with that team is very important.
You may think you're just, not being seen. It's like the picnics we would have with the wingmen as they came in, and the supply officer and the maintenance officer, all those people, men and women. And we would, and then maybe an evening dinner or something, but we would go to our spouses and say, what did you think?
Yeah.
And we weren't looking for the guys and gals that were just coming to the boss. Hey, boss, you're great. Yeah, you're great. Kissing up, right?
Right.
We wanted them to be talking to the chiefs, talking to the plane captain, crew chief, talking to everybody to find out what it's like to be a Blue Angel and see what the fabric of the company, of the squadron was. Right.
Right.
You're exactly right. What you said was spot on.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something I'll certainly never forget. Now, when I left that team and I moved on to other squadrons, I always told people that I served with that the only difference between the United States Navy Blue Angels and us is the uniform and the recognition that they have. You are the exact same people that are in the United States Navy Blue Angels, and you can conduct yourself at the same level.
Beautiful.
What's your take on that?
I think it's absolutely correct. Pump them up because it's true. It's not, bravado. It's not, just trying to make them do better. Think they're better than what they are because they are the best. The Navy and Marine Corps personnel are the best in the world. And if you have, because of your experience as a Blue Angel, you have some special talents and treasures to bring, and you bring it in a very humble and quiet fashion, right?
Right.
But pointed and with a tribal elder sort of as they used to call it. You've got that experience of being in high stress environments, and you know how to get the job done, and you can bring that to people.
Yes, sir. You definitely get the job done. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, was there ever a situation that you were in the Blue Angels, maybe a near miss or a safety issue that kind of profoundly changed your perspective on that team mentality and the things that you were doing going forward?
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we had one midair knocked the missile launcher off. It was a loop break cross. So we take all 6 airplanes up over the top, pointing straight down, smoke on, ready break. And 6 is on the far right wing. 6's left wing missile launcher hit the horizontal stab, the horizontal tail of the number 2 jet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Knocked about half of it off and knocked the rail off. Luckily, all the debris, it was in Opelika, Florida, second to last show of the year. So we're supposed to be at our best.
Yeah.
We're talking about getting, a stick in the eye, so to speak. Holy smokes. Everything was okay. The stuff landed in the sanitized box, which the FAA carves out for you and demands that nobody be there.
Yeah.
For an instance like that. The planes landed just fine, and then we went into debrief. Debrief was, our debriefs are over an hour generally, always over an hour, maybe pushing an hour and a half, not much more than that usually. But this one took over 2 hours because we couldn't figure out why this happened. Because 6 said, "I've done that same thing every show."
Right.
And we finally called an X number 6 guy on that right wing that hit the other guy, and he said, "Did you yug?" I think was it yug. Yeah, did you yug? Push the stick forward a little bit before you broke away. He said, "No, I've never done that." And, again, the guy that taught me from last year never did that. All right, so I think that changed the way I looked at the business we're doing, because you think you've got it all together.
Yeah.
But you may be missing something. So we wove that into the last show of the season and then on to the next year, right? That technique. So you never are going to be able to fly a perfect show. And more foundationally than that, you never really know all the right answers. And so
Right. Yeah.
you try to get it right. In my presentations, I talk about Vince Lombardi saying, "We're going to go out there today to this football team." Well, I have to explain to some of the younger people in the crowd who Vince Lombardi was. Probably the greatest football coach of all time.
Oh yeah.
Well, I give him a little brief on it, and I say, he would say, "Go out. We're going to go out there today, and we're going to work our tails off. We're going to seek perfection."
There you go.
And we'll never get perfection, because there's just nothing on this planet. Only the supernatural is, I won't go into that, but you know what I mean. There's only one form of perfection, and we're not going to ever get it. But as we chase it, as we go after it, each and every time we go on the field, we're going to find excellence. And so that's what we found in the Blues, and that's how we sought to be perfect. But your original question had to do with what changed you, and I think that was one of the things that I can think of right off the top of my head that really changed the way I looked at what we did. We think we've got it perfected.
Yeah.
We think the procedures are all correct, but all of a sudden something pops, and you got to learn to adapt. And hopefully, the seriousness of it isn't so much that somebody gets hurt.
Exactly.
So our maintenance, my maintenance guys, our maintenance guys put those airplanes back together, and they were, with a new wingtip and a couple hydraulic lines and a new horizontal stab that we went up to Jacksonville from South Florida, flew up there and got parts on that Albert, cool system. Brought them back, we worked on it all night and had them ready to go the next day. And I called the Admiral. I said, Admiral, we've got a little fender bender down here in Opelika. And I explained it to him and talked to him how we had, through our debriefing process, we had figured out why.
Yeah.
And that I want to get the guys back on their horses tomorrow morning so they don't start, their heads didn't fill up with stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we did, and we got going. So anyway, that's a long story. Sorry.
That's it. No, for sure. 100%. And you touched on something there that when I got to the team was kind of, it hit me the moment that I started learning about it. They had a Blue Angel Creed.
Yeah.
And Blue Angel Creed is, as a Blue Angel, I will dedicate all my efforts to pride, professionalism, and perfection.
Yeah.
That first sentence sets the stage for what you are expected to do when you walk into those doors. And every day when you walk into the flight line, it's not expected that you'll be perfect, but it's expected that you're going to drive forward your efforts towards that perfection. And that really seems to drive that team every single day in order to try to make them better than they were the day before. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I don't know if you saw the movie that was about last year. Yeah, and we had the Creed. So I was on every set, every time we filmed the team all over the country in 2022. And even I went to Hawaii. But so it's like, well, in winter training, it's like 5 a.m. when the Creed gets, when you have the
nice and loud and early,
the muster, and then they recite it. So we're filming, and the who was it? Front man said, he said, okay, he called me boss because of my old days. He said, boss, how'd you like that? And I said, it was good, but would you mind doing it one more time? So that second time they did it is the one that went in the movie. And
nice.
It was the way I didn't like the way the cameras were positioned. So we moved the cameras and then caught it and tracked down the line and back, So anyway, absolutely. I love the Creed. I love the Creed to go back to.
Yeah, definitely love the Creed. So was there any moment while you were on the team or even throughout your naval career that kind of made you question your own leadership?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, I was blessed to have a lot of good people around me and steer me. I didn't look at it then. I thought it was just good luck, but I have a different perspective now. But I had people to help me get my bearings and head me in the right direction and second chances. I didn't, the first time out to the ship to qualify landing on an aircraft carrier, which is a unique and challenging thing to do. I got all the numbers of landings, 10 in the daytime, 6 at night.
Yeah.
Got back to the ready room, thought I was done, and the instructor said, not good enough. I go, what? I didn't qualify? He said, no, I thought it. So I thought it was done,
Yeah.
And he said, but we're going to assign you to another instructor. And he said, I know you can do this, and you can do this, Greg, but remember this one thing. You fly the airplane, don't let it fly you. And that's one of those adages that you weave into all the stuff you do in life. You fly it, you make it happen. You focus. You keep the distractions away when you're offered a challenge like I was. So I had a second chance there. So it wasn't just, it wasn't rose petals for me. I goofed up a lot. And a lot of times it was, some liberty issues and things like that, right? And liberty, You and I know what liberty is when you get to go off the ship and relax and have a good time. Sometimes a little too much of a good time, right?
Yeah.
So I learned what was good, what works and what doesn't, and not. And I learned from the leaders I had. I picked up traits that I saw. Oh, you know what? That I didn't say it at the time, but I said that motivates me. What that person just did,
Yeah.
Somebody could try a different way of leadership. I said, well, I don't think I can do it that way, you know. And so you start picking stuff up. And
Yeah.
you, as a chief, you saw that too, amongst the senior petty officers at your early level, and then amongst chiefs, chief petty officers, and so forth. So it's a great environment to learn about life. It builds leaders. It builds people with responsibility that know how to be responsible and accountable. And that was one thing about the Blues too. You were accountable for what you did. Everybody could see what you'd done.
Yes, sir.
And we allowed for admitting mistakes. We encouraged it, and it wasn't a death knell. There was no, in the way you worked, there was no real fear.
Yeah.
You wipe that out because you got to get to the right answer, right? You can't just be fearful of going, oh, if I tell him I did that, you know, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I'm going to get hammered, you know.
Yeah, take the fear out of it.
Culture that we had, right? We had that culture where you could, and I talk about strength and vulnerability. You could be vulnerable and be accountable because you knew it was going to help get to the right answers. So,
yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question. But.
No, you absolutely did. Now, I know the bosses they talk to each other. You know, they help each other, they guide each other along the way, and they get to reach out to former bosses. And then, you know, eventually you're the former boss and you're talking to someone else. Is there any one particular boss that you've talked to through the years that's kind of helped you more than the others? Or is it more of a network thing that's kind of on an equal playing field there?
Yeah. It was more about listening and having people reach out to you. Gil Rude was the guy that transitioned from A4s to F-18s when the Blues did that. I always admired him in the fleet. He was an A7 guy like me.
Yeah.
Years and years ago. And I always so respected him. He's such a down-to-earth North Dakotan. You know, I mean, the guy he would speak his piece, but he didn't do it harmfully. He did it constructively.
Yeah.
And he was just frank. And I would say, and also I got to spend time with Butch Voris.
Oh, really?
As he got older, you know, and of course I had the team in the 50th anniversary, and he was still around.
Yeah.
Having been the founder of the team.
Yes.
And getting his perspective. I mean, even after all those years, the guy was so clear-headed and so perceptive. Yeah, I would say he, as a boss, he was probably a guy that I could turn to and pick up stuff from.
Oh, that's real cool. So how about air show sites? What's one of your favorite air show sites? I know you got to have one or two that you might have picked up on.
Well, of course, the standards are Seattle and Seafair, and then Fleet Week down in San Francisco in the Bay. Of course, those were headliners for us. But I think you kind of get over the glitz and glamour and beauty of those things, and now you want to go out and meet the people. And I'd say Quad Cities. Ken Hopper used to have a show in the Quad Cities of Iowa and Illinois. Western Illinois and Eastern Iowa every year, every other year, and we would go there and just to meet and talk to the people in the heartlands. That was gratifying. And there's no front covers on them. They were open books, and it was just terrific. Yeah, I would say it was more where the people were than the sites, because you could enjoy the sites.
Yeah.
I mean, flying between the buildings in San Francisco and Seattle.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then we got to take the team overseas, and did an air show in Moscow. So
yeah.
But again,
I've seen some of those videos. That's pretty amazing too. When I was on team, we never got to do that. I think the closest we got was Canada. So
Canada, sure. Well, different perspective, and what I liked about going overseas, going to Bulgaria and Romania, is that they still remembered us pretty much as heroes from World War II, long time ago.
Right.
But they looked at us as if we were giants. And fun thing about the team was that year we had, out of the 6 formation pilots, 4 of us were over 6'3". So we had a pretty good sized bunch of guys that
yeah.
For what it was worth. It was interesting. It made it a little more impactful.
Yeah. So how about those banana suits? What do you think about those?
The yellow ones?
The yellow suits.
Never had one, never wore one. I think
Really?
I'm not a big fan. That's as softly as I can put it. I'm not a big fan. Yeah, we didn't want to do that. Now apparently they came back a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
they definitely came back a little bit. I'm a big fan of that blue and gold myself.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm.
the big yellow banana suits is what we used to call them.
Uh,
Yeah, we kind of made fun of them. So
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think I saw him in 22 when we filmed the team. I don't think we never got the yellow suit on film unless it was ancient stuff, some old history.
yeah.
But
So now they're talking about when you guys fly, and I was blessed to be able to get in there and see it for myself because as a part of the team, an enlisted team member gets a chance to get in the aircraft and fly. Well,
sweet.
not fly the jet, but
Well, no,
we're
yeah,
passenger.
sure.
But they talk about 18 inches apart. I
Mhm.
mean, there's no joke in that.
No,
I mean, it is super close, super tight on those maneuvers.
right.
What does that do to the body? I mean, you're already not wearing a G suit,
Yeah, yeah,
and you're in there. I mean, we saw it on that clip at the very beginning there, the hick maneuver that you were doing, and the G forces that are going against your body. Plus, you have to stay on point in that maneuver in order to make sure that you are not touching wings.
yeah.
What does that do to you?
Well, every muscle in your body's spring loaded, so to speak. You sweat a lot, especially the wingman. I'm just up there in the front trying to be smooth, unpredictable
Yeah.
and consistent. That's what they wanted from me: consistency. Do exactly what I said I was going to do. But for the body, we worked out about an hour and a half every day. We used to have a routine back when I had the team that we would go to the gym. Even in winter training, we would go to a gym in downtown El Centro because we actually stayed in downtown El Centro on the Vacation Inn. We used to call it here. You'll love this. Some of the JOs would call it vaccination Inn.
Oh, golly.
but we went to a gym there in a club. It was nice, but we would work out and tease each other. But we wanted to stay in shape. We wanted to be able to tolerate the G's. We wanted to be able to slip into those tight flight suits, and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But what it does to you when you're flying that close, I mean, it's mentally challenging and tiring. You're ready to just take the pack off, as we used to say, when you sit down on that, get ready to debrief, have some sodas, eat a sandwich, whatever, just relax and get cooled off, and then get into that debrief and figure out what the heck you just done that day. Applaud the good things, dissect what wasn't so great, and make it better the next day. So your original question was, what's it do to the body? You start the season 36 inches apart, so your mind and body work together. That muscle memory develops, right, and you know what it feels like as you get closer and closer, and how your body's going to have to react. It's like being a really good hitter in baseball. You learn how to judge that ball coming out of the pitcher's hand. Look for it and know what it's going to do and nail it. And that was kind of like what we did in the team. You just do it over and over and over again. And if you saw in the movie, you saw that they actually talk about getting down to 12 inches apart. And
Yeah.
We had a couple of great cinematographers who did some great work, and you can see where you see that most vividly is in the diamond, the 360 diamond 360, where the wing tips between 2 and 3 are, I mean, they look like the wing tips look like they're really tight.
Yeah, they're real tight.
But you understand the pilots understand the responsibilities and the pressure of doing it right, and
Yeah.
so they get really good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that repetitiveness. So one of the most inspirational things that I received when I was on the team was I was just there. I was 30 days into my training, and I was being told by a teammate that had been there for 3 years. He said, "Look, the thing that I'm going to teach you right now and how you're going to learn this is the same thing that the guy in 1980 learned. And
Yeah.
you're going to teach it to the next guy next year, and he's going to continue to teach it after that." And if that doesn't get you going, I don't know what will. You have to keep this going the exact same way. We have to make sure that we're always trying to do the right training with our people.
Yeah.
And so for that, from that point on, I was trying to get better and better and practice to get better at everything we were doing, really.
That's extraordinarily well put, Chief. And Waffles is Donkey used to say Waffles, right? And Shrek, Shrek, is that where they got the Waffles called? Anyway, call sign. That's cool.
So if for yourself, if there's a JO out there listening, or let's say an NJROTC student from high school, and they're thinking about going to the academy and possibly ending up in aviation and maybe one day becoming a Blue Angel, what is the one bit of advice you can give that young person who is considering all of this in order to not only make them successful, but maybe to make them reflect upon where they're at currently and where they want to be?
I think they need to know what the expectations are of them. So many times you get thrown into a job and they just say, just go do it. Go tie down the airplanes, get it all done. Well, what's the outcome you're expecting and how do I do that? Always, as you get into something, get a thorough understanding of what you need to do, because you're never going to master it. You're never going to be the best unless you know what the foundation is to doing what you're doing. And you will be surprised as a junior person in whatever line you're in, whatever training, whatever career path, you'll be surprised how much people will be willing and think highly of you for seeking out what the expectations are. So what does this going to look like when it's done right? What do you want me to do? So I kind of dwell on that, right? And then there's so many things about leadership. There's thousands of books and tips and hints. But I think if you're going to jump into something, you need to know what's expected of you, and get ask for the right way and the training you need.
Yes, sir. Well, we're coming up on the end here, and this is where I'd like to turn it over to our guest and maybe have you put out there what you got going on and what to look out for in the future.
Okay.
So what we got coming up?
Cool. Well, I'm still out hitting the road doing keynote speeches all around. I've got a couple here and there, but I've also been privileged to take a new version of the Blue Angel movie, which was made in IMAX, which now can only be seen on Prime, which is not IMAX quality. However, we just in January wasn't involved in making it, but IMAX made a 40-minute version that shows in museums, mostly our IMAX screens in places in Raleigh, North Carolina, like Marbles, a kids museum. I just spent 2 trips to the East Coast. I'm out in Portland, Oregon. 2 trips to the East Coast to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum to introduce that 40-minute version. Nice. And also the next week, I went down to the Kennedy Space Center to the visitors complex and introduced that to the IMAX there, which was so much fun. And it's the way you can now see that movie in IMAX again. And it captures all the highlights of the hour-and-a-half version. So I've been doing that. Rob Stone, one of the guys that I've been working with for years, he was the guy that I got him to make this documentary about us going to Russia. It was called Blue Angels Around the World, the Speed of Sound. So Rob was a young producer, and I got him to go with us on that trip and make that documentary. And then about 5 years ago is when I asked him, I said, let's make another one. And that's when we did this, the Blue Angels. Found the right people to help us move it along, like Glenn Powell and J.J. Abrams and folks like that. But now Rob and I have another idea that's getting legs. And just never stop doing, just
that's it.
Find life's adventures and don't let anything ever stop you. Don't let it, if you fear something, it's going to build a wall in front of you. Stop it,
Yes, sir.
Take a look at what's causing you that trepidation analyze it and make a good decision. Yeah, I'm just not going to do that one. It doesn't scare me, but I see that as not the direction we need to go to get this to happen, right? So
Right.
always be ready to grab an opportunity. Life is so full of fun, and that's what I would say. And that's where we are now. That's what I'm doing. So
Yes, sir.
looks like I need to learn how to spell my last name. I put an extra I in there. How did I do that? Oh my gosh. I think it was in the getting started and getting onto this format. Anyway,
that's perfectly fine. It's okay. At least I didn't misspell it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want everybody to know. It was me.
Accountability. There you go.
That's right. And no fear and vulnerability. I don't care. Yeah, I did.
Well, it's been a blast talking to you, boss.
Thanks, Chief.
I couldn't ask for a better guest to be on here, and thank you for your service and for coming before us and allowing us to have the opportunity to do what we do while we were in the Navy, and I really appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you so much, Waffles. You're terrific. Best of
Yes,
luck.
sir.
Go forward.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Go Navy.
There you go.
I couldn't think of a better place to end this video than right here in the middle of the woods, the Battle of the Wilderness, at the hotly contested Brocken Plank Road, Orange Plank Road. Not too far in that direction, Longstreet's wounded. Right here where I'm at right now is a place where men like Wadsworth and Hayes end up losing their lives. Families lose loved ones. Soldiers burn to death in these fields around me here. If you let these fields do it, they'll touch your soul.